All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my good friend Katie Klabusich. Katie is a writer, a reproductive justice activist, and the host of the Katie Speaks Show on Netroots Radio. She's a contributing writer to The Establishment, all of which and more you can find at katiespeak.com. You can also follow her on Twitter at Katie_speak. Katie, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Thanks for having me back, Matt.
All right, so Katie, the Supreme Court will be hearing an abortion case this term. There's a lot to be theoretically nervous about or excited about, but both probably. It's excited and nervous because it's a big case that they're going against. But tell us, what is this case that's going before the Supreme Court?
Sure. So it's possible they'll hear two, but the Supreme Court, in their infinite wisdom, has not decided whether or not to tell us if they'll be taking the Mississippi case. So everyone knows there's just one clinic left in Mississippi, and even though that doesn't get all that much press, the governor and the legislature there is still trying to close it. And so the Supreme Court has conferenced on it, which means they've talked about it, but we do not know yet whether or not they're deciding to take that case. If they decide not to, the clinic will close because the law will stand. So the Fifth Circuit Court, which is the ruling that they're attempting to overturn at the Supreme Court for Mississippi, is also the circuit court that is sort of in charge of what's going on in Texas. HB2, the omnibus anti-abortion law, is the one that was famous after the Wendy Davis and Peoples filibuster 2 years ago. And then they called the special session to the expensive special session, with all that limited government they like to do there in the Republican legislature, to pass the law anyway. Since then, parts of HB2 have gone into effect. Because of the way the law is written, they essentially have to challenge pieces of it at a time. So we are now in a place where Texas started with 42 clinics that were able to provide abortion. We are now down to 19. And if this law that is now in front of the Supreme Court is allowed to stand, we will be down to 10 or fewer. It's hard to be precise because it's going to depend on whether or not certain clinics can find admitting privileges in conservative areas, whether or not they're able to do the retrofitting for building requirements and things like that. But it would definitely be 10 or fewer clinics. So we found out last week that they're deciding to hear this case, and it's the first since the 2003 so-called partial birth abortion law. And it's been a while since we've had an abortion case in front of the Supreme Court because both sides are terrified of Justice Kennedy. If you think of the Supreme Court as sort of 4 on one side and 4 on the other, it very much hinges on what Kennedy would decide to do. Dahlia Lithwick, the court reporter for Slate, who is much smarter on these things than I am.
She's much smarter than everybody, though. Let's just be, Dahlia's she's a genius, so.
It's true. Mm-hmm. She's fantastic. And she explained it to me as sort of like, which Kennedy shows up? Is it the Uncle Kennedy who is super worried, like he was in Gonzalez v. Carhart, that women might make a regrettable decision? Or will it be the Kennedy that showed up in Planned Parenthood v. Casey in 92, where they strengthened Roe? So there's really no way to know. She's actually got a new piece out that I didn't see until this morning, right before I came on with you. But it's called "The Justice Who Cares About Dignity and Autonomy Should Vote Against the Texas Abortion Law." And it really, really kind of is up to him. So if people are more interested in like the wonky details of how the court works and how Kennedy himself works, they can read her piece.